Brand identity extends far beyond just a photograph or a brand bite. And we often talk about the fact that it shows up everywhere, right? And there are so many different ways and places that an audience can reach an artist now. So let's talk about how brand gets integrated into all the other places that an artist shows up.
A lot of different examples we could take here. I'll start with a simple one that is an artist I've really enjoyed over the last few years, okay? This is an artist, a singer-songwriter, like folk artist named Gregory Isakov. He lives in Colorado. He's a full-time farmer. The off seasons of the farming, he tours internationally. He also recorded his last album in his barn on his farm. So this is like what we would say is a personal brand, but it shows up everywhere. He is a full-time farmer. So his music shows up like really humble. He's in Colorado, so it's really beautiful there. This is what he posts about. So his albums sound transportive and cinematic, like the landscape there. So his brand identity shows up in his songwriting and his storytelling on his record, but it also shows up in his social media and like what he posts and how often he posts. It shows up in his touring schedule and how he records his records. They're all very organic, like it's an organic farm.
Gotcha.
Right? That's a brief example of a personal brand that shows up everywhere, exactly the same, on brand. It's honest, humble, vulnerable, raw, cinematic. He's not posting a lot of selfies. That would be off-brand for that type of person. He's not posting every day. He doesn't need to. That's not what he's about. And it's just awesome. So like that's an example of someone who I really have come to love over the last couple of years, and learning about him and his story gave me additional context, and I love that. Another example I could take you back is when I was in the recording studio days. I used to manage a recording studio here in New York City, and I worked with John Legend a lot. Our studio worked with John before he was an artist.
John Stevens, I believe was his name, right?
I remember his tapes used to even say John L on them. And so we worked with him when he was just a ghostwriter. And then we worked with him when he was transitioning and evolving to an artist. He's a great example of brand evolution over time. He's someone who I always associated with quality, and he was just sleek and just super professional, and he was just a real talent. And you can see it as he's gone through his career. He's just been somebody who's been really consistent with their branding and has evolved over time. My experience with him was him being in the studio working on his records, and his entourage would show up and crew would show up and be in the studio and be smoking or drinking or eating, and he was always like laser focused and dialed in. One particular time we were doing a shoot, he was going to be doing an interview. Kind of right when he was breaking through that first record and going on to the next one and really starting to elevate his status. So we were doing a Good Morning America shoot in the lobby of the studio. The call time was like 5:30 a.m. Yikes, right? Everything is set up, cameras are set up. I can't remember who was interviewing him. It was Diane Sawyer or somebody like that. You'd expect an artist who was famous at that point to be showing up with the entourage, showing up late, showing up with handlers, showing up with a publicist, makeup, like all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Not him. And so he showed up about 2 minutes prior, like right on time, perfectly dressed, wide awake, needed no coffee, no water, nothing, ready to go. It was like within a minute of walking in, he's sitting in the chair being interviewed.
Wow.
And then the interviewer threw a curveball and was like, you know what, let's go in the live room real quick and just have you sit at the piano and play a little something, and we'll do the rest of the interview in there. Totally unrehearsed, not expected. He goes and sits down at the piano and is just fully warmed up. He's ready to go. Just starts singing to her, crooning to her, like charm offensive. That was a moment in my career where I was like, wow, that's a professional. This is someone who takes their craft really, really seriously. And I was kind of blown away by that because that was not the norm. For me, this was an example of someone showing up a particular way. And as I've seen him throughout his career, he's been pretty consistent in that way. He's super pro, super dedicated to his craft. He means business. And it showed up when no one was watching. 5:30 in the morning, ready to go and prepared. And this is somebody who went through a lot of adversity, and at least professionally, being passed on by labels many times. I think he was passed on by Sony 5 times before they signed him. So he had persevered through that, and he had learned what it took to actually get to that next level, it's going to take a level of professionalism and focus that was going to outpace most of the people he was working with. That was a specific example of where I learned the side of brand identity of showing up everywhere. We can call it integrating. It's integrating into like becoming your brand. That was a really powerful moment for me where I saw it in action.
We talk about this in the context of live performance as well.
Yes.
Like, how do you do that on stage in between songs, or the clothes you wear, the gestures you make? Like, it's in every single detail.
Yeah, it can definitely be what you say between songs. If you're speaking from the voice of your brand in between songs, the audience can feel a certain way.
Yeah.
I'm not the performer in the room here, so tell me a little bit about how that translates to you when you were doing more performance.
So you actually, you coached me into changing the way I did my live performance in a way that I continue to do this, and I encourage my students to do this now too.
How were you doing it before?
It was just awkwardly. I mean, just to give everybody a little bit of a context of what my live show looks like, it's just like stacks of electronics, right? There's like keyboards and controllers and microphones, and it's almost like a spaceship, if you will.
Yeah, control center.
And so in between songs, it would stop, right? Like music would stop, and then I'd be like scrolling through patches, and I'd be distractedly being like, "Hey, everybody, thank you for coming to my show." You know, I wasn't even there. I wasn't there. And you had said to me one time, "Why was there ever silence in my show?" Because it was so much like a DJ, like there was a DJ component to it.
Yeah.
And you said that there should never be a moment where the beat drops. Like, just keep going, keep making music, and use those opportunities to tell people about your identity and your brand. And I really thought about that a lot. So then I started using interpretations of Stevie Wonder songs as transitions from one song to a next.
Cool.
But I would do something to them. I would make them my own, right? So it would either be like completely warped and mangled and texturized, or I'd launch the clip and it would be some sort of narrative from one song to the next. And the reason I chose him was because I see my identity, at least sonically, in Stevie Wonder.
For sure.
In so much as that he's an early adopter of technologies. There's lots of like synthesized elements in there, really sort of like genre agnostic in a sense.
Yeah. So that was a very brand specific choice.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like, okay, he represents me. I see myself here. And then I'm going to create my own textures and versions of this. So I would launch the clip, and then people would still be, they'd be like, "Oh, dang, I love this song," you know, and it would keep the energy level up. I'd be scrolling over, I'd stop, I'd say something, and then I'd like do some crazy effect process, transition into boom, right, there's the next song. And it totally changed everything about my live performances. Like, people were just right there with me the whole time. Whereas before it was kind of it was dipping and
People talking to each other, going to the bar in between songs. Yeah.
There was a lot of peaks and valleys. And like you were saying, people just get it, right? Whether it's subliminally or outwardly, they just were responding to me in a completely different way with my live shows. And now when I'm teaching students about performance or live electronics, I always say the same thing. Like, there should never be silence. Use these moments to tell somebody about yourself without saying something. This is an opportunity for you to show your identity. It's a profound change and thought process that I hadn't really done before we did that work together.
And like, as an educator, you want to keep people engaged as well. That's part of your identity.
Oh yeah, my brand shows up in the classroom.
Right, so
for
putting
sure.
that into everywhere, like performance, making sure the audience is consistently engaged and they're almost like going on this little journey and they're learning something through your set. It would be like on brand for you to do that. So
It is.
so I think it's about thinking about your identity in every context. That's why we visualize it. The identity is the operational mindset. Sometimes for me, I envision it like you putting on a certain pair of glasses, so it's a certain view, and everything that you do is in front of you. You deliver the identity through live performance. You deliver it through music. You deliver it through photography, through video, through merchandise, through social media, through promotion. You're disseminating the voice of the brand through these different mediums, and live performance is a big one. So yeah, showing up everywhere, the same.